Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're back with day 14 ReactJs. Today we are going to learn keeping component pure. All of you guys kindly join the Discord link from the description. There will be a happy and helpful content for you regards React. Okay, so hope you will join there. So starting with keeping component pure. Okay, some JavaScript functions are pure. Pure functions only perform a calculation, nothing more. Okay, the pure functions only perform the calculation and nothing more. Okay, by strictly on writing by strictly on writing your component as pure function, you can of avoid an entire class of baffling bugs and unpredictable behavior as your code base grows. Okay, to get these benefits through, there are few rules you must follow. Okay, to creating a pure function are those do only do the calculation part. There's nothing with the anything else with rendering, state management, or any kind of things. There is no nothing any kind of that things. There is only the calculation part. Okay, the rules to making the pure functions you need to follow. Okay, you will learn what you are going to learn here. This all the things, what purity is, and how it helps you to avoid the bugs. What is purity in the sense of pure function? In the sense of pure function, it doesn't mean that the water is pure. The purity of that function, what is the scene behind that? Okay, and how it helps you to avoid the bugs, and how this pure functions is avoiding us to careful about the bugs. Okay, how to keep component pure by keeping changing out the render phase. Okay, we are not like in some of the cases we are required to making the helping function. Okay, does helping function is pure to us? No, actually in that we are also dealing with props, we are dealing with state management and all these things. And that's if there is an issue with any state, that helping function won't be going to work. Okay, so this creation of bugs can creating multiple errors, and some of the functionality will not working inside our browser website because of that helping function is not working. So we keep in mind and creating something specific for the specific pure functionalities. Hope you understand what I'm trying to say. All right, so we know about this pure function, what is that, and how the calculation part is working there. We moving forward to that, but before that I just trying to briefing you how that's work. How to use a static mode to find mistake in your component. Okay, we are also going to understand how we are going to find out the static mode to find your component error. Okay, or find the mistakes. Okay, so starting with purity component as formula. In computer science, and especially the world of functional programming, a pure function is a function with the following characteristics. Okay, I think this is a Wikipedia page. Okay, yeah. Pure function. In computer programming, a pure function is a function that has following properties. The first one is the function. Function return value are identical for identical argument. No variations with local static variable, non-local variable, mutable reference argument, or input stream or reflected transparency. In analytical philosophy, the computer science referential repersonal fractional fractional referential transparency and referential opacity are property of logistic constructions and by executions of languages. Okay, the the linguistic construction is called referencing transparent, which when any expression built from it replacing the sub sub expression and with another. Okay, okay. So thing is like whatever the return type or return value of your function should be identical with your arguments. It doesn't mean whenever in a C or C++ whenever you want to creating the linked list, at that time the creation of linked list you are required to create your a function for insertion the nodes and all that things, and for that you are required to creating a function. The return type of the function should be match as the argument that you have passed to that function. It doesn't mean that you are just discrete the identical, like your return type should identical to that, like should match the data type to your arguments. Okay, that's kind of thing, like one of the point is that. And the function has no side effect, no mutation or local static variable, like mutation, like no side effect. When when that function will run, it's not going to change the or manipulate the value of local static variables. Okay, local variable को change नहीं कर रहा होगा, that's not going to affecting the local variables. Okay, until and unless you are not using the reference value. When you are using the reference value, at that time that will manipulating the local variables too. Okay, no non-local variable mutable reference argument at or input output stream. It's mean that whenever you passing the argument as a mutability, like with the reference addresses from the heap, at that time that will be that going to manipulating the value of local variable. Otherwise it's not going to manipulating that. This kind of property shows that that function is pure, that not going to affect other kind of things. Okay, hope you understand. Okay, in computer science and or especially the world of functional programming, a pure function is a function with some characteristic. It minds in own business, it minds its own business. It does not change any object or variable that existed before it was called. Okay, some input some output give the same input, some input and the some output gives the same and input. A pure function should always return the same result. Okay, whatever the value they require to be performed, that should be same. I'm sorry, there was some error behind the scene. Okay, you might already be familiar with one example of a pure function in formula in maths. Like consider there is a maths formula y equals to 2x, just double the number of x, okay, to y. If x equals to 2, the y will be 4. If x is equal to 3, the y will be 6. It's point obvious. And if x equals to 3, why won't something be 9 or minus or 2.5 depend on the time of the day or the state of the stock market? What is this? If x equals to 3, why won't something be 9 or minus 1 or 2.5 depending on the day, depending on the time of day or the state of the stock market? Yes, maybe. If y equals to 2x and x equals to 3, the y will always be 6. Yes, then whenever the value of this value of 2 becomes like the x equals to y by 2, whenever the and x equals to 3, then y will be 6. What I'm saying? Yes. Oh my god. If y equals to 2x, it's mean that x equals to 3. It's mean 3 to the 6 and y equals to 6. If we made this into the JavaScript function, it will look like this. Oh my god, what a difficult functionality is this. So difficult. Okay. Yes, point obvious. In the above example, double is a pure function. Okay, double is a pure function. It's not giving any kind of error, and it's not manipulating any other variables, and it is similar to the return type. Like the argument is number, then the return value is also a number. So this is a pure function. All right. If you pass it 3, it will return 6 always. It's not going to change the value. Okay, the expectation of the user will be maintained here. All right, it's not like it's going to share the value like unexpected value. Like if I also going to multiply this value with some random number, at the time the expectation of user's value will be changed. Okay, and that uh, at that time it's not going to be the pure function. Hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, React is designed around this concept. React assumes that every component you write is a pure function. This means that React components you write must always return the same JSX given as the same input. Let's take example here. Like here is a function recipe. No, here is the main function app. Inside the app there is a one section. In this section there is a heading of recipe chai, spiced spiced recipe as a heading, and heading 2. Okay, I have two heading, a heading 1 and a heading 2, just like here, heading 1 and heading 2. Inside this, the recipe steps, the flow, this is coming from recipe component. Okay, this is coming from recipe component. This is coming from recipe components, and where I'm sending the prop drinkers equals to 2. Like I am going to creating a recipe on the basis of customer we have or family members we are going to enjoy that recipe. On the basis of that, like if the drinker is 2, my recipe gives the content of ingredients on the basis of 2 customer servings. And if there is a gathering with 4 people, the 4 people, I'm just saying I'm just sending the props as a 4, and the function will going to manipulate the data on the basis of that and give the ingredients for the four people as a serving. Like for two people, like a bowl of 2 cups of water, add 2 spoon of tea and the 1 spoon of spice, add 1 spoon of milk to boil and sugar to taste. Okay. When there is a gathering of four people, the boil of 4 cups of water. Boil the 4 cups of water. Add 4 spoons of tea and the 2 spoons of spices. But in this case, there was a 2 spoons of tea and the 1 spoon of spices. Why this happened? The same result come with some manipulation, and the results become perfectly. And this is an example of pure function. And it's sending what they are going to sending some gsx, and that's manipulating our data. Like this component recipe is going to take as a props here, and the same things order list is here. Here is an order list with the numbering of 1, 2 and 3. Okay, I'm getting all the recipe here with the list item here, like boil number of drinkers. Like if there is a 5 drinkers, then boil 5 cup of water. Okay, if there is a 2, then boil 2 cups of water. Add the sugar, number of spoons of sugar for each person. Have 1 spoon of sugar, 1 spoon of tea. All right, and the amount of drinkers will be the 0.5%. Means like 50% of the thing that we are going to add on. If there is a 2, then there I'm going to add half spoon of if there is a 1 person want to take, then it's going to half spoon of spicy. If there is a 2, then I will going to add 1 spoon of spice. Okay, and the same thing, I'm also going to give the 50% of cup of milk to boil and taste, and the sugar for the taste. On the basis of the taste, if any customer need some taste like sweetness, then we are going to add the sugar. Otherwise, we won't. So this was the kind of thing, like we are creating the function, like pure function, like just manipulating the data and returning these things. Just like here, whatever the value we are going to add, just manipulating the data and return the things. And this pure function also work in the case of uh, list rendering, when we are using the map function. In the arrays map function, we are just manipulating the data and creating the same thing. We have also, if I require to do the same thing in my objects file, at the time I'm going to use the map, and that map will use the same thing and manipulating the things like this. All right, I would like to take 1 minute of break, please understand. I'm sorry for inconvenience. So moving forward, so we understand how the pure function is working here. Okay, so moving forward, like when you pass drinkers like to the recipes, so the same things happens here. Whatever the things that we have read here, they're just trying to say. When you pass drinkers to recipe, it will return gsx contain 2 cups of water, always. If you pass drinker of 4, it will return the gsx of 4 cups of water, always. Just like the math formula. Yes, you could think of your components as recipe. If you follow them and don't introduce new ingredients during your cooking process, you will get the same dish every time. Okay, it's not going to manipulating the things. Okay, if you're not going to add your new dishes, it's not going to change and everything is same. The dish in the GSX that component serves to react to render. Okay, what are the dish that you want to serve that is going to render here. This illustration was created by this one person and just going render and comment. We are going to work on this in further more. Okay, side effect, uh, intended consequences. What are the side effect? Like when you are going to manipulating something else out of the some variables or some other another function or even some another component. Okay, when you want to manipulate things from outside the functions, at that time what you are going to do? Like React rendering process must always be pure. Must always be pure. Okay, it's not going to manipulate something else. Components should only return the JSX, not change any object or variable that existed before rendering. Okay, that would make them impaired. Here is a component that breaks this rule. Here is a component that breaks the rule. What's that? Let's. I have a guest, and this is my local variable here, like guest. Okay, and there is a component like cup. Okay, we are going to creating a tea, like bad changing the pre-existing variable. This is a bad habit to changing the pre-existing variable, like guest equals to guest plus one. We are just manipulating the other outside the variable from inside the function, or and returning the tea cup of guest hash 1 2 and 3. Whenever I follow up the same component for multiple times, the number of guests is going to change, and this is an unpure function because this following the second rule of pure function. Hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's moving forward. The component is reading. The component is reading and writing a guest variable declared outside of it. This means that calling this component multiple times will produce different GSAGs. This is the main point what the pure function don't want. And what's more, if other component read guest, they will produce different GSX too, depending on the when they were rendered. That's not predictable. That's really don't want. Going back to our formula y equals to 2x, now even if x equals to 2, we can't trust that y equals to 4. Like they maybe change the value. Our test could fail. Our users won't be baffled. Plans would fall out the sky. You can see how this would lead confusing bugs. You can fix this component by passing guest as a prop instead of this. Okay, like if you pass the component as a guest as a prop value, that will manipulate the things perfectly. Okay, like in this case, we are not saying like the same. Like we are changing the guest value plus one and changing and using the guest from this single variable here, and that's making things very bad. And if we are using as a props value, that's as that the component is created and we are sending the respected value and manipulating on the basis of that. So moving forward, now your component is pure as the GSX is returning only depends on the guest props. That's a good way to using the prop. And generally you should not expect your component to be rendered in any particular order. It doesn't matter if you call y equals to 2x before or after y equals to 5x, both functions will resolve independently on each other. In the same way, each component should only think for itself and not manipulating other components outside the variable or outside the component, and not affect no, and not attempt to coordinate with or other or depend upon other during the rendering. Rendering is like a school exam. Rendering is just like a school exam. Each component should calculate GSX on their own. Okay, they're not taking GSX from any other. Every component is responsible for their own GSX. Let's see what's detecting impure calculation with static mode. What static mode is it? Static mode is like something is constant, something is not changing, or something is not manipulating. Okay, although you must not have used them all yet. In React, there are three kind of input that you can read while rendering. First is props, state, and context. Okay, these are these three kind of input value. We have just used props. Yes, we have already used props, and we have also used what other that we have used states in some of the cases. In our quick start lecture, that we have used the states for managing the data. Okay, in second, in third one, it's context. Right now we don't have idea about the context. Actually, it's working as a props drilling, like when you want to send the data to your grandchild from the parent. At that time, this context is and the prop drilling functionality or props drilling kind of terms comes forward. All right, guys, you should always treat this input as a read only. When you want to change something in response to your user input, you should set state. Yes, we know it very well. When the user interactivity or websites increased, we are using the use state condition and the hooks there to manipulating the things. Instead of writing to variable, you should never change the pre-existing variable or other object while your component is rendering. Okay, React offer a static mode in which it calls each component's function twice during development. By calling the component function twice, static mode helps find component the break them rule. First, they will call when they need to create the virtual DOM, and second time it's called when they are rendering to the actual DOM. Okay. Notice how the original example display guest 2, guest 4, and guest 6 instead of the guest 1, 2, 3. The original function was impure. The original function was impure, so calling it twice broke it. Okay, we are just calling the function two times, and it's manipulating the data two times, and that's inconvenience for the user, and the user was not expected that data. But the fixed pure version works even if the function is called two times. Okay, but that function that we have fixed, when if we call that function two times, that is control their data, because we are sending the props value. Pure functions only calculate, so calling them twice won't change anything else. Okay, just like calling double. Yes, we have just used, we have there that time we have used there, and second time when we were using the recipe of tea making, masala tea making, spicy tea making. At that time, how we are manipulating the data on the basis of consumers or serves we need there. All right. Pure functions only calculate and so not changing that twice. Okay, static mode has no effect. Static mode has no effect because it's not manipulating any variables outside their function. In production, so it won't slow down the app for the user. It opt into static mode. You can wrap your root component like root.static mode. The some framework do this by default. Okay, react.static mode is a thing. Like, what is this? Let me tell you. Wait for me. How we are going, to understand in terms of pure function. In context of React as a pure function, understanding the React.static mode involves re- recognizing its role in forcing best practice and helping identify potential problem of your code base. Okay, return the same input and the same doesn't produce any side effect. All this what does identify the side effect, enforce the best practice, static rendering. Actually, this helping you to understand where is the uh, error in our program, in our application, kind of that. Okay, we are going to working on this more further. For right now, we are just moving forward. The local mutation, your component little secret. Okay, in the above example, the problem was that the component changed as a pre-existing variable. Okay, we are changing the pre-existing variable from the component while rendering. This is often called mutation. Okay, mutation means changing. Okay, manipulating the things. To make it sound bit scare, pure function doesn't mutate variable outside of the function scope or object that were created before the call that makes them impaired. Okay, guys, so it means that mutation is not being happen in pure function, but it's generally happens in impure function. However, it's completely fine to change variables and objects that you have just created while rendering. In this example, you create an array, assign it to a cups of variable and push dozen of cup into it. Like there is a main uh, application of tea gathering. Okay, there is a variable. Okay, and we run the for loop from I equals to 1 to 12, and the number of cups we are just pushing. Okay, push the number of cups, and we get the cup from where? From the cup function, that is the t cup for guest hash 1 hash 2 hash 3. Okay, calling the multiple component from where? From our for loop, for looping purpose. All right, guys, and we are passing the key value for identification and the guest with the number as a props and sending here and creating the things, and whatever the things that's coming out, that we are going to send to the cup, and whatever the things is inside the cup, that's going to return the value. Okay, so guys, it's happened by rendering till the 12. If the cup variable of the array were created outside the t gathering function, at that time we are manipulating the function, it would be a huge problem. You would be changing a prefix pre-existing object by pushing items into the array. However, it's fine because you are created during the same rendering inside the T gathering. No code outside of the gathering will even known that is happened. And this is called local mutation. Local mutation is good for creating application, but global mutation is not if there is a global variable outside the function and we are trying to manipulate or mutate that, that's not good. Okay, it's like your component's little secret. All right, we created this and adding all the component inside this and just returning the value. It's our issue to calculating the things. Okay, where you can cause side effect, where you can cause side effect. Okay, it's our in our hand where we want to create side effect or not. While functional programming relies heavily on purity, at some point somewhere something has to change. That's kind of a point of programming. These changes, updating the screen, starting an animation, changing the data, are called side effects. These all are the side effects. Okay, we are just creating the things like something happens. There are things that happen on the side, not during the rendering, not, not during the rendering, but it's happened in the side by side. Okay, in the game, we are calculating the score from the side by side during the game is playing. Okay, that can be a example for this. Like we are playing the video game, yes, and in the side by side we the video game is calculating the number of points, and that is that can be an example for this. Okay, in React, side effect usually belong inside event handler. Inside the event handlers like we have already discussed, like on click, on change. Okay, this kind of event handling. Event handlers are function that React run when you perform some action. For example, when you click a button. Okay, even though event handlers are defined inside your component, you don't run during rendering. So event handlers does not need to be pure. Okay, doesn't need to be pure. It's already been running inside our function, not from the outside. If you are executes all other options and can't find the right event handler for your side effect, you can still attach it your returned JSX with use effect, call your component. Let's understand this line. What is mean? If play fallback of unhandled case, if no specific React event handler like on click and on change fit your scenario, you can still handle side effects by adding them to your component using use effect kind of thing. Like in CSS, some of the time we are creating our own animations and own kind of effects. In that way only we can use this use effect for our handling the scenarios. Like this ensure that your logic run after the DOM had updated, enabling your enabling you to manage effects like attaching custom listener or manipulating the DOM directly. We are directly manipulating the DOM. Like when I click on this, it manipulates to show me this navigation bar. Okay, when I click this, it's hide the navigation bar. This functionality I'm going to add using the use effect. Like whenever you click on this button, this will going to showing this, not even the button. It may be this is a component, it may be this is a div, and we are going to add the functionality to that div. Okay guys, we can use this to manipulating the DOM, directly manage the effect. In such case, you can attach the effect like event listener. Okay, like event handler and event listener. Event handler, we are going to add the functionality to that, and event listener is like directly listen the event, like whenever the event is called, that will start implementing directly in use effect and clear it up properly to avoid memory leak. This approach gives you control over when and how your side effect runs without relying on the predefined React handlers. Okay, we're not going to rely on our predefined React handler. Like this is an example. Like there is a okay, this is a component custom event handler, and this going to show me whenever the handle custom event is called up, and wait, it's returning the custom event handler, and windows dot add event handler custom event, we're calling the custom event handle custom event handle custom event and handle custom event. We are creating the use effect as a custom event. Okay, it's just like a function, and the console log custom event triggered. Okay, use effect here and windows dot here, and return clean up to prevent memory leak. Window dot remove, after after showing this effect, we are going to remove the event, remove event handler. And first one is to add the event handling, and second was the thing is like removing the event handling, event listener, event add event listener, remove event listener, a custom event, and to empty the dependency array, empty this dependency array to to ensure that runs once mount. Okay, just a thing like we are going to work on this next lecture or some when the topic will came. I'm just trying to say what is the use of use effect. Okay, I'm just trying to say the use of this use effect. Use effect is just like adding the event listener and having the event handler to your components, to creating your custom controls, not just on click, on change, more than that. Okay, this tells React to execute it later and after rendering when side effects are allowed. However, this approach should be in your last resort. Okay, when possible, try to express the logic and rendering alone. Okay, we will work on this, and you will surprised how far this take you. Okay, why does React care about purity? Why React really want to care about the purity? Actually, what happened? Purity helps the React's component to be settled down or to be in the static mode. Okay, it's not modifying the things unexpectedly. Writing pure function takes some habits and discipline, but it also unlock marvelous opportunities. Okay, first one is your react, your component could run in different environment, for example on the server, since they return the same result of the same input. One component can serve many user requests. Yes, you can improve performance by skipping rendering. Okay, multiple times rendering will not going to happen. Components whose inputs have not changed, this is safe because pure function always return the same result, so they are safe to cache. Okay, if some data changes in the middle of the rendering, a deep component tree, React can reset rendering without wasting time to finish the outdated render. Purity make it safe to stop calculating at any time. Okay, to make your component up to date. It's helping you to stop the rendering the things. Okay, actually most of the time what rendering is means, rendering is like we are changing the virtual dome to real dome. Okay, that taking a lot of time to doing that. In the small application this not affect a lot, but in the large application it's really affect. Like whenever you open the YouTube, okay, it's take time to flashing the screen, like some searching screen, like searching all the components. Okay, it's sometime when your internet is slow. At that time what's happened, in some of the case when your internet is fast, some of the application take time to render all the components on your screen. It's taking the time in rendering. Alright guys, even new React features we are building taking advantage of purity. Okay, for data fetching to animation to performance, keeping components pure unlock the power of React paradigm. Okay, now we have just complete all the things that was our target today's target. In the recap, the components must be pure. Okay, how we understand the component is pure, it minds its own business, not going to change any other variables and object outside the things, and have the same input and the same output. All right, it has the same input and the same output. Okay, so the data should be in the same hierarchy, and this make keeping the discipline to working with that. Okay, rendering can happen at any time, so components should not depend on each other rendering sequence. Okay, you should not mutate any of the input that your component use the rendering. Okay, we are not going to change the data of that rendering part. This include props, state and context. Okay, for the rendering purpose we are going to use the props, state and context to render our data in proper way and sending as a props. Okay, to update your screen, set state instead of mutating the pre-existing object. Instead of mutating the pre-existing states, we can use our set states. Okay, strive the express your components logic and GSX return when you need to change things. You will usually want to do it by event handler as the last resort as a use effect. Okay, you are going to use you are going to use the use effect functionality to manipulating the things on the basis of changes. Okay, when and adding your own handler for changing your data. Okay, writing pure function take a bit of practice, but it's unlock the power of React. Okay, we are going to use this and making things proper. So we are going to follow up this challenge in next lecture. For now, I'm going to signing out. Please guys join the Discord channel, Discord server for the new updates and new challenging questions of React.js. So moving forward, guys, see you in next lecture. Goodbye.